You're listening to Speaking Sidemount, the podcast where we talk all things sidemount diving, from equipment, skills, techniques, and sidemount diving expeditions to interviews with some of the world's top sidemount divers. Whether you're new to sidemount, been sidemount diving for years, or just want to know more, this is the place for all things sidemount. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Let's get wet. Welcome back to Speaking Sidemount. I'm Steve Davis, and now we have part 2 of our interview with Michur, where we talk about steel versus aluminium cylinders. We talk about his innovative dual bladder configuration, where he's taking his diving, and also we share our wishes for the sidemount community. Well, one thing I noticed with your diving, which is a little different to mine, is that you seem to dive exclusively aluminium cylinders, even in dry suits. And I'm assuming you're in fresh water a lot of the time. I'm sort of interested in your philosophy around aluminium versus steel, just so you know sort of where I come from, or perhaps you've seen. If I'm in fresh water, particularly if I'm in a wetsuit, certainly aluminium cylinders is my tool of choice. However, salt water with a dry suit, especially thick undergarments, I'm going to go to steel and dive 12-litre steels with aluminium, staged deco cylinders. So how do you seem to be exclusively aluminium? Is that the case, or?
Okay, there are a number of reasons for this. Okay, the first reason is that I believe, I also have some steel cylinders, to be honest. I simply choose aluminium for most of the videos, but sometimes I use the steel cylinders just to practice a little bit, to know that I can. And there are some special kind of students who prefer only steel cylinders, so I have to show them what to do with those ones. But regarding the choice of mine, when you go anywhere in the world, to be honest, you go to Egypt, you go to Mexico, you go to Asia, okay, they only have aluminium cylinders. So I believe when you start, diving with aluminium cylinders during the course, you know how to handle those aluminium cylinders, okay, underwater. So the bottoms become positive at the end. So you have to constantly move the sliding D-rings, or to just clip these bolts up to the lower D-ring, etc., etc. You know what to do. Okay, and of course, I always do at least one dive during the course with steel cylinders, so the students know, what it takes. Yes, but I've noticed that with the development, of the new gear like X-Deep, for example, the tech, so you have a number of possibilities to attach the number of lead that you need. So right now, even wearing a very thick undergarment and a dry suit, I only need 8 kilograms, for example, and I still have place for at least 8 kilos more.
Is that in fresh water or salt?
It's in fresh water, but in salt water, I usually don't need a thick undergarment. So actually, the number of weights remains the same.
Sure. Yeah.
So I love aluminium cylinders for their buoyancy, and I already know what happens to them when they are 45 bars in the fresh water in Poland. It means that they remain stable in the water, they neutrally buoyant. All right. So I know what happens when they are 200 bars. I know what happens when they are 20 bars. That usually shouldn't happen. I love the way they behave, so I treat them as my animals underwater, because I can just throw them a little bit over the head to make them stay leveled, and sometimes I need to keep them when they to come up. So it's like playing with cylinders, and you cannot play much with let's say steel cylinder.
Certainly,
that's why.
It's harder for sure, and I mean, certainly I wouldn't, and I don't know that anybody does. I've never seen it use steel cylinders for stage or deco cylinders, but more for the two primary or your side cylinders. I think everyone would agree, certainly if you need to remove a cylinder, it's a little more challenging, but it can definitely be done, and certainly, almost every cave diver in Florida would do it. So there's...
there are of course pros and cons of steel cylinders, because I would say the one of the disadvantages is, as you said, they're not so easy to maneuver underwater, but a very big advantage over aluminum cylinders is that you don't have to do anything with the cylinder underwater at all. You just clip it to the back D-ring, flat D-ring, whatever, or a butt plate, and it remains there, and it's pretty streamlined, and no questions about it.
I find it interesting too. It depends on the steel. Like my 12 liters, they do become a little buoyant, which is interesting. So I am moving my sliding D-ring, but nowhere near as much as for an aluminium. So it is, you've got it. I think, it comes back to what you were saying before about knowing your cylinder. I think you need to know your cylinders as much as any other part of your equipment, know their buoyancy characteristics, and make sure that you're constantly checking the trim of your cylinders. And when I say constantly, I tend to check, often when I'm doing a regulator switch, I'll have a quick look and see, or quick feel and see where they're at. And it's important to know that. I had the interesting experience of going to Truck Lagoon, which you knew about earlier this year, and I hadn't dived. Interesting, 500, more than 500 side mount dives, and I hadn't dived in a 3mm wetsuit with aluminium cylinders before. So, and we were doing trimix dives, and so I had the interesting thought process of, hey, I haven't actually done, and it was a little cold here at that time, so I couldn't really practice in salt water with the 3mm wetsuit. So I conceptually thought through how I would address that, and I decided that I would actually use your double bladder configuration.
Oh.
So, and I think I told you about it, and it was fantastic. So, I went from a little bit thinking about, gee, well, how much weight am I going to wear? I'm going to 4 aluminium cylinders for these dives. I'll dive those 4 on almost all of them. I actually dropped back to the XD Stealth 2.0 recreational harness, and then put the classic bladder across my shoulders as you'd shown. It worked perfectly. I mean, and when I say perfectly, I didn't use the top bladder for the beginning of the dives. So, for the bottom portion. But when I was
only for trimming at the end.
Trimming at the end, yeah. So I'd do my ascent, and then first deco stop, I'd have a feel, what's happening. If I needed a little bit to lift my head up a little bit, put a couple of puffs in, I might dump some gas from the bottom. And I promise you, I was so relaxed, I could have gone to sleep during my deco stop and in perfect trim. And, I watched all of the other divers, all of the back mount divers struggled. None of them were really able to hold trim because they weren't able to adjust their buoyancy and their weighting to the same degree. And they were wearing very much weight with their rebreathers and twin sets, and they had nowhere to go. So it worked fantastic. So thank you for that innovation, because I think I hadn't seen that anywhere else, and it works, I promise you.
Yeah, okay. So the double bladder invention came with the idea of why should I put so much weight on the back, in order to prevent my, let's say, number of aluminium cylinders to go up at the end of the dive. So I just started thinking about, how ships do that.
Yes. See, a submarine. I'd like to think of a submarine, where you're moving ballast around.
Yes, obviously. Okay, so they have ballast, right? Okay, so I said, why not use another bladder? So I put the bladder on the shoulder. I also thought about where to put the dump valve. Okay, so the perfect solution was over the neck. Yes, over the neck, so easy to reach. And obviously, I do not connect any kind of inflating hoses to the trimming bladder for safety reasons. Yes, but I only blow the trimming bladder with my mouth. Open water diver should do that. Okay, yes, like we teach that during open water courses. So I noticed it during trimix dives, you only blow into the bladder once when you're down there, at the bottom. Then you only deflate using the dump valve, and it works perfectly all right. So a similar story if it happened to you, when I was in Gozo in Malta. I went to do a number of side-mount trimix dives with a friend of mine who was a back-mount trimix instructor, and he said to me, "No, Tom, it's not going to work." When we finished the dive, he said, "Let me give you the quote: you have changed my way of perceiving side mount diving." He loved that solution very much. So because it's just for trimming, because we have enough buoyancy in the Tech XD, like 90 liters is enough, right? So and I also had a dry suit for emergencies, etc.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, I mean, I was in a wetsuit, remember, so it was way too hot for dry suit. So I, in a way, needed a redundant buoyancy source anyhow. So I was quite happy to have it for redundancy as much as trimming.
Exactly. Yes. So that gives you another function. Yes. Right. So of course, classic is only 16 liters, but 16 liters is also enough. Right. Sure. Thank you for appreciating the system. I didn't spend a lot of time working on it. Like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. Right. So obviously we have to say this, Steve, that this system, 2 bladders, is not for everybody. It requires some experience. So I wouldn't like everybody to follow up our footsteps, but they need to really get experience in 2 cylinders, in 4 cylinders with just 1 bladder, and then maybe when it's time to use another one, for for the purpose that we have just described. Yes.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I remember one of the things from the Steve Bogart's interview that he raised was progressively building skills and
Exactly.
progressively building dives. And it was really the building dives thing. You should not be doing, deep trimix dives, obviously, until you've got training. But you need to make sure that as you're pushing depth, that you are progressively doing that and not just going for a number. So, and that includes the equipment you add on, making sure you're conversant with it before you use it. So, agree 100%. So, no, awesome. Tell me a little bit. Obviously, I talked before about diving being fun. What sort of dives do you do for fun?
Okay, first of all the dives I do are for fun.
Okay.
I'm really honest with the answer right now. Okay, when I feel like today I need to go and practice, okay, and I don't feel like it, it all changes once I get in the water. So it's also fun. Yes, but I know what you mean by that question. You mean like
I guess as an instructor, it's kind of more obviously instructing is fun. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. But so it's sort of outside of the work side of your business. And what do you do in your own?
All right. Okay. So I need to tell you that a few months ago I gave up my job, right, as a teacher in high school. And so, and that's why I have 1 year to decide what to do next in my life. Okay. Right. And now, why did I give it up? Not because I felt like burned out, because I loved my job. And by the way, being a teacher in high school helps you a lot, okay, in your job as an instructor, okay,
sure
methodology, okay, handling different kinds of students. And but I had to give it up because I noticed that there were so many opportunities and so many dive sites in the world to see. Okay, I simply couldn't afford to go, not for financial reasons, but it's simply, okay, when you're a teacher, you have to be at school because you have responsibilities. Okay? Sure. But I, of course, so far I had managed to go to Mexico a few times, okay, for fun dives and for my full cave course, Malta, okay, Greece, what else? Okay, of course, the Czech Republic, nice quarries, Germany, nice quarries, Croatia, with XD as a session. Okay, still a number of the sites in here to see. Oh, even the Maldives. And believe me or not, Steve, okay, I took my dry suit to Maldives and my BCD XD Classic with me. The guys on the boat, the owners of the diving center, okay, just looked at me suspiciously. Oh, what the hell is going to happen here? Yes? Okay, and but after some time, they just got into it, and I even gave them some kind of sidemount demonstration, and they loved it. Okay, right. So fun. I would say I said something about Steve Bogarts being interviewed by you, and also a little bit told me that you interviewed Gary Dallas. Yes. So Gary Dallas is a guy that I really have a great respect for. We speak sometimes on Facebook. We hope to see each other soon, okay, in person. And do some kind of projects together. But I believe he's the guy that has a very similar perception of diving as to mine. Like he's a cave diver, but he also loves big fish, underwater life, okay, marine life. He also likes wrecks. I love wrecks a lot. And okay, he also travels a lot in order to enjoy his diving, okay, and together with his students and his companions, and not just concentrating on one thing like cave diving. And that's me. I believe guys like Brian Cook or Steve Bogarts are the ones that will never ever have a kind of competition as they the best in the world, okay, and they have spent their life working on cave diving. I also believe that okay, once I'm not in close vicinity of caves, I will simply never achieve 20% of the things that they have done.
Yes.
But there are so many things in the world worth seeing as far as underwater goes that I believe I will find okay, some nice things in the future for me as well. Yes. Yep. So just okay, summing it all up: cave diving, wreck diving, fun diving with fish, quarry diving, pool diving. Everything gives me fun.
Yep. Yeah. No, I'm with you 100%. And I have exactly the same philosophy as I'm not close to caves here. I love cave diving, but I am close to some wrecks. So yeah, and being a former naval officer, shipwrecks are very close to my heart. And so yeah, exactly the same mindset. So no, that sounds amazing. So what you mentioned one of the trips, and I saw that you ran a trip to Croatia earlier this year. Tell us a bit about that trip, because as soon as I saw that, I thought, gee, what's it going to take to get to Croatia? I wanted to go. It looked amazing. Tell us about it.
Okay, Croatia is known for a number of wrecks. Okay, the northern part, a lot of wrecks, but also close to the islands, a lot of wrecks. Croatia is relatively expensive when it comes to living there right now. Okay, because every year the prices go up.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I believe that's a great place for all the people to go to in order to see beautiful dive site, but also great culture, marvelous people. And so I had a chance to go together with Piotr Czerny, the CEO of XDeep, and Irena Stangierska for a photo session to the island of Murter. Okay, and I was really surprised to see so many wrecks underwater, different depths. Okay, and because I've been to Croatia like, I don't know, 20, 30 times, different locations, but I didn't expect Murter to be so nice. Okay, so that Murter is one thing. Okay, there's also the island of Vis, which is very, very interesting. We have B24, we have B17 down there. B24 is at 65 and B17 is at 75, so easy to reach, okay? Sure. Relatively easy to reach, okay, obviously. And and once you get, you can actually spend every day in a different location, different dive site, and nobody comes disappointed from each of the dives that they do. So if you ever here in Europe, okay, Steve, we can go together to see some of the wrecks. Okay,
I'd love to.
Set it all up.
Almost certainly, Croatia, and you mentioned Viz. That's been on my list for a wee while. I've an associate that's, or actually another instructor who came through Gozo Technical when I was working there. She's been working in one of the dive centers there, and she had nothing but very positive things to say. So I'm excited to look at that. And yeah, a little bit like you, I'm looking every year, where am I going to go? And it was truck this year, so we'll have to see next year, huh? Mind you, I've kind of been bitten by the truck bug now is the problem too. So I think I have to go back there. So yeah, never, always too many places and not enough time and certainly resources to get there, huh?
And we are already 32 years old, Steve says. So we have,
exactly.
We only have like 85 years to live. Okay.
Exactly. So hang on. When you put it that way, it sounds like we've got enough time, huh? At least to touch a few. Look, I don't have much more, Michur. So, in closing, if for our listeners, we've shared quite a bit about training. What other things, I guess, are on the top of your mind about sidemount diving right now that you'd like to share?
Okay, so I would say on the top of it, diving is just diving. Okay, so no matter what system we're using, okay, whether it's back mount or side mount, okay, or rebreathers, okay, we should simply make a lot of fun out of it. Yes, that's the one thing. Yes, and but once we all decide to use side mount as our primary system, I think that what I would love to see, okay, is like at the dive sites, okay, smiles on the faces of all the side mount divers, just embracing each other, really getting into conversations, sharing our views, not getting at each other's throats, and not getting into some strange discussions on forums. That's what you said at the beginning. Stay away from discussions where people just fight each other. Get in the water, get your equipment on, and go and enjoy the thing you love. So side mounting. Maybe I'm very idealistic, but I believe that side mount is so nice. It's so artistic. It's so beautiful. Okay, like Steve Bogas and his razor and his first film, always in my mind. That we should just move on with this. Okay, and we should just spend a lot of time together as a community and stay away from any kind of fights.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And just for our listeners, Michur and I had a little conversation beforehand about some of the vision around this podcast, and a lot of that was sort of somewhat dissatisfaction with forums from my point of view, where there's so many keyboard divers on there, voicing opinions, and that's fine. I mean, everyone's entitled to an opinion, but when it kind of gets, as you said, if it's not positive, and it's sometimes the minutiae of the detail around it is, and the other thing is people asking questions about where should I clip my cylinder and all this sort of thing when they really should be going and getting good instruction, as you said in the beginning, and then taking that as the foundation upon which they build their side mount system, because as I think you also shared. So side mount is a little different from back mount, and one area that it is different is that fitting your equipment to your body is vital. Your harness must fit you properly. the back mount, look, not so important. Your cylinder, you must have the clip in the right position. Your D-rings have to be in the right position. And so, and if you change any part of that, then you change the way the configuration works for you. And so there is an opportunity to optimize it, but it must be fitted to your body, and getting some help with that is a really good way to start. Mate, I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I've been looking forward to it too, because I'm on the other side of the world from you, and it's wonderful that we can talk through technology. But I know we've wanted to dive with each other for a long time, and I'm sure we'll get an opportunity in the next year or two to do that. And that excites me, and also it excites me to see you continuing to practice and continuing to deliver videos, and I can't wait to see what you do around donning and doffing, and so that I think will be a real contribution to Sidemount in the community. So thank you very much for your time in the interview, and we've got to catch up soon. So I hope we can make that happen.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve, for the invitation, and thank you for getting me into such a great group of big names in Sidemount. Mm-hmm. And I'm really honored to be asked.
Cheers, mate. Thanks. You've been listening to Speaking Sidemount from www.sidemountpros.com. If you like the podcast, please subscribe and consider leaving us a 5-star review. If there's something you'd like us to cover on the show, then let us know via our Facebook page listed in the podcast notes. Thanks again, and we look forward to you joining us on our next episode of Speaking Sidemount.